Okay, good evening. I would like to call to order the September 26th Board of Finance meeting. We have a quorum, so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Thank you, everybody. This is I think it's our first meeting of this new fiscal year, if I'm not mistaken. The esteemed town finance director is nodding her head in the affirmative, so I will trust her on that one. We have an exciting development this evening. We have two new members on our board. So I'd like to just take a minute and have them introduce themselves. We'll start here on my right. And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So first of all, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Glad to be part of this esteemed group of folks.
You just met us.
Yes.
So
For now.
Wait 5 minutes.
Right, okay.
We're not esteemed any longer.
No, just happy to be here. Looking forward to learning and working with the folks here on the board, but also the folks in our local government. My name is Keith Cheney. I have been a resident of North Andover for the past 7 years. 2 kids, a wife, and we enjoy our time here in North Andover. So thank you for having me.
Good. You're welcome. Ken?
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate the opportunity to serve on this committee. My name is Ken Gray. I've only been a resident here for a short while. I have kind of deep roots, though. 2 daughters, 4 grandkids that live here, and so we moved here just for that reason. About a year and a half ago. I don't know if I'm the former mayor of Amesbury and did a lot of budgets, and that's why I wanted to be on this committee, because this seemed like the proper place to get engaged.
Yep.
And I just like being engaged in whatever community I live in. So this is wonderful for me from a personal standpoint. So I hope to be able to add some value and be of some value to the town and the board. So
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you both. Welcome to you both. Sounds like, Ken, you just volunteered to write our warrant letter that explains the budget and our perspective. So thank you for doing that.
Does it have to be in cursive? I can help you there. Yeah.
Well, all this experience, I'm very, very excited. So I think that I can say this experience will be as much as you make of it. You can be as involved as you want to be. We're happy to spread all of the work and thinking and ideas. So please don't hesitate to speak up at any time. I think our current members would agree with me. We're a big, happy family here, and we work hand in hand with the town government to make sure everything stays on track, and I think we'll continue to do that. So I'm looking forward to a good year. Okay, so next on the agenda is public comment period. We have any public comment, Mr. Limpert? Good, sir. Okay, very good. No public comment this evening. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Now, unfortunately, we encountered a little bit of a administrative snafu, and I did not include the minutes in the packet for y'all. So unless you've been super aggressive, I don't think anyone's actually read the minutes. So we're gonna pass that one up and move on to the next one this evening, which is a review of the Finance Committee policies, rules, and procedures. So this is one that I think everybody except for our 2 new members is very much aware of. Every year we have a set of policies and rules of procedure that we follow by the committee, and our bylaws indicate that we're supposed to approve them at our first meeting. It took us quite a long time last year because we sort of all were picking through them and all. So I think they're in a pretty good place. I think what I would do is let's hold off on approving them. I don't want this to turn into last year, but let's hold off on approving them until we get them to Keith and Ken so that they have a chance to look at them and familiarize with them. I just think that's the fair thing to do instead of, you guys have a fresh set of eyes. You can look at them and let us know if we're missing anything, especially in the punctuation department. That seems to be our biggest bigotillo. So I think we're going to move through this pretty quickly. So review the budget calendar, which I forgot to get up on my computer here, but I think Jillian sent out the budget calendar
Yeah.
to everybody. Everybody get the budget calendar? Keith and Ken, did you?
I don't recall.
You did get the set of minutes?
I did, but, there's a variety of emails that come out, so it doesn't mean,
Okay,
It came with the meeting invite.
yeah, in the
Did it?
meeting, yeah,
Yeah,
in the meeting
it's
invite.
the-
okay. Well, the minutes may be in there. And I just missed the minutes, so I apologize. We'll-
But I mean, I think it's fair that our two new folks get a chance to at least read some things before we vote
Yeah,
on
the
them.
minutes are there.
Oh, they are, okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah, the invite on the,
Yes.
yes, the two
are
attachments.
the policies, they are? Oh, jeez. Man, I feel woefully underprepared all of a sudden. Hold on. Calendar.
Yeah, I think it's what she sent, because I was at work printing them out today, so she might have sent them out yesterday.
The minutes are from July
They're in the-
25th, right?
No, she's actually on
Calendar
vacation,
invite,
yeah.
The whole Google Drive link.
Ah, there it is, yep.
With all of the things.
Was that with the first invitation, or the invitation for this meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, I probably didn't scroll down far enough.
Yeah, there's a link in there, I see it now. Okay,
takes
I
a
do
little
see
while
the
to get
minutes
used
in
to
there, but you know what, in fairness, we all haven't seen them, so we'll hold off on the minutes. We'll hold off on the policies and procedures, and Keith and Ken, I will send those out separately to each of you so that you see them under a separate and new email, so we have that chance. No problem. So the budget calendar, let me pull that up quick. So the capital improvement plan instructions are distributed by September 22nd. Are we still, already done, right? Because it's the 26th. So the capital improvement plan requests will be submitted by the departments by October 21st. Is that set in stone, Lynn? Yeah, okay, good. The budget policy statement is adopted by the 24th of October. That's by the Board of Selectmen. Right, yep, okay.
This was, the budget calendar was put together with collaboration between the school and.
Perfect. So, yep. So then it's in our packet, budget policy statement, revenue fixed cost committee, operating budget instructions, town manager presents fiscal year. So it's all there. And what Jillian and I did was sort of calendar our initial meetings around this calendar. We will likely have other meetings come up as we go along, especially as we get closer to budget time.
How many do we have for January? Did we just put
We
two?
just have the one, no, we have one in January, one in February, and then we stopped.
Okay.
But like I said, we'll likely include more. We'll do that with hopefully more than enough time for everybody, just to get them on their calendar and make sure there are no conflicts. Okay, I'm just going back here. Nope, that's the wrong one. Finance agenda. Okay, so the Revenue and Fixed Cost Committee. The Finance Committee appoints two members to the Revenue and Fixed Cost Committee. Works with Lynn, the superintendent, and the deputy superintendent to establish the revenue and fixed costs that Lynn will base the budget off of. And they meet a handful of times, I think, in the next few months.
Yeah, I'll probably, put out, once you vote some
Yep.
members, I'll probably put out the first meeting, like the third week in October.
Okay.
to start.
Okay, so it's not a big lift, but it is an important lift for this committee to have representation, two representatives on that committee. So I would ask for volunteers. Last year it was Dustin and Ed. Ed is no longer on the board and Dustin is not here, so that may earn him a spot if we have no other volunteers. And of course, if we don't have any volunteers, I will happily do it. So I don't know if Eva, Nancy, I'm not gonna put it on Ken or Keith unless you guys.
I don't mind being on, like, especially a revenue committee, or fixed costs, or whatever. I'm pretty comfortable with those.
There you go.
It's
Okay.
a way to kind of dive right in.
Boom. Okay.
One thing I would like, can you lay out what the process is and how you go just all the way through the municipal process? that
Yeah,
we do?
Lynn, would you mind stepping up and
I would love to hear that. Yeah.
the whole thing? Yeah,
I don't mean to
absolutely.
interrupt or stick it in.
No,
but
it's perfectly
if that's
fine.
okay.
So the Revenue Fixed Cost Committee meeting was put together, probably, I'd say a good 10 years ago, maybe even longer than that, to help with transparency and cooperation and with all the different departments and the school as well, so that we can make the recommendations to the town manager to present, to move forward with putting together the budget. So we start out with, I put together the projections. I have a worksheet that carries out all the years back to when I started working here back in 2020. So it has all the history of the revenues. I make the projections and then present it to the Revenue Fixed Cost Committee. So we have a kickoff meeting. I present drafts so that everybody has the time to review them all and, you know, do some research if they want, come up with some questions. We plan another meeting. We have to present and make final recommendations to the town manager 45 days from the kickoff meeting.
Okay, so if we're at end of October, it's,
Yeah.
early December. something.
Correct. So that gives myself and the town manager time to determine how we're going to present the instructions to the departments so that they can move forward with their departmental recommendations. And she puts together an amount that we believe the school will be able to work with. She works with the superintendent and the assistant
And when you say
superintendent.
revenue, you're talking everything except the levy, right?
That's correct. Yep, because the levy is set
Right.
really in
Oh,
stone.
that's what's left.
It's what it is, right?
Yes, I agree.
We project the new growth.
Mm-hmm.
I work closely with the assessor's office to come up with a projection for the new growth.
And you normally get that about this time of year? You'll get the certification of the property values?
Yeah, we'll do that by probably November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's within that
Yeah,
45 days?
it's within the 45 days, yep, yep. So it's worked very well over the years. It's helped, you know, make the budget process more streamlined.
Good.
And a lot easier for everyone to understand. Yep.
Good,
Okay.
great, that works.
Good.
But it just, while I'm asking the question, I hope I'm not, but how do you do it with the department heads? Do the department heads come in and present a budget to the select board or to us, or?
To the town manager.
Oh, okay, the town
Yep.
manager.
The town manager, myself, and the deputy town manager will meet with each department.
And you go through a iteration or iterative process to
Yep, yep.
get down what you're going to propose to the select board? and
That's
to
correct.
us?
And then we try to have, has it been 2 years that we've had a
Yep.
tri-board meeting with
Yep.
the finance
2 years,
committee,
yeah.
the board of selectmen, and the school committee, that we all present the budgets, and we're not having all these separate meetings.
Yeah.
Right,
It
so
makes
we
it
meet
much
we meet
easier.
as one, and
Yes.
the town manager will walk us through, and the superintendent will walk us through everything, and it gives all three boards the opportunity to have all the facts in front of
Yep.
them,
Great.
and ask all the questions we want to ask.
Yep.
And then separate than that, and I'm sorry to jump
No,
in.
go
and
for
separate
that,
than
go for that.
The town manager and Lynn will come back to our committee and give us an opportunity to dive into anything that we have further questions on, we want more explanation on,
Yep.
or ideas that we have, that sort of thing. And we do that over the course of at least one meeting, but, you know, it can be more than that, depends upon how deeply, you know,
Right.
how many questions, how deep we want to dive in,
Good.
or stuff like that. So, and then it goes back to the town manager, and then,
Right.
sorry, Lynn, then you can go.
Now, do the two new members have a copy of the budget document? Have you
don't
looked at it
know.
online? Because
No,
we do
last-
the.
We're gonna get that
last
to you
year,
too.
yes.
Yeah,
I
because
have
we do the
looked at it.
GFOA budget
Okay, okay.
document, which gets
Okay.
the GFOA budget award.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
pretty complex.
Yep.
Yeah, Oop,
GFO, general fund operating, is that what you're?
Yep.
Okay.
yeah.
I never used the O.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
was.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Ken, you good?
Yes, that was very helpful.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Keith, any comments, questions, concerns?
Not at this point.
Good, no problem. Anybody else? Chris, Regina, you, Nancy?
Yeah, but I was gonna say, I don't mind being on that group as well.
The
Well, do
volunteer.
you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, how about, so then,
Okay.
could we have a nomination for Ken and Nancy to be on the Revenue Fixed Cost Committee?
I nominate Ken and Nancy to be on the Revenue Fixed Cost Committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eva, thank you. Then, all of those in favor of nominating Nancy and Ken to be on the Revenue Fixed Cost Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations to Nancy and Ken. There you go, Lynn. There you go. Okay.
Dustin's off of it.
And Dustin's off the hook, which I think he'll appreciate. Yeah. No, because I told him I was going to reappoint him, so. All right. So next we go through a little bit of housekeeping here, and we have the election of the chair and vice chair. So currently, I am the chair. Chris Allen is our esteemed vice chair. I think both of us are willing to serve again, unless we have anyone else who would like to step up to any of those chairs.
You do
No?
such a wonderful job.
Oh, thanks.
I move to appoint Donovan as our chair and Chris as our vice chair for the next year.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Eva, thanks. All those in favor to continue as Donovan, me, as chair and Chris as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then I will continue to serve as chair and Chris will serve as vice chair. Thank you. Thank you. All right, now to our first, yeah, now to our first bit of sort of real business tonight. So we have Lynn, would you mind stepping back up again? Thank you. So we have tonight a request from the town manager, a request for a transfer from the reserve account to the senior center capital account. I attached the letter to an email I sent to the committee this morning, so everybody should have it. I will read it for the record. As you know, the Amazon Community Partnership Agreement will fund the $100,000 cost of the furniture for the senior center. That payment is due within 30 days from the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. Fortunately, the senior center is moving along quickly, and we have the need to order the furniture now due to delays in getting inventory. So in order to alleviate, cash flow issue, we respectfully request the Finance Committee reserve account transfer the amount of $100,000. And then when the Amazon payment is made, the town will transfer that money back to the reserve. So for the new members, we do have a Finance Committee reserve account that is $1.5 million. And the reason for that account is for instances like these, when revenue falls short, projects come up that were unbudgeted, all those sorts of things that we have the ability to help, bridge that gap that may be there. So some years we get no requests, some years we get some requests. Not to my knowledge do we ever get anything close to $1.5 million in requests. In fact, I don't remember any last year.
No, we did last year.
We did? Oh, around,
That was the
yeah,
600.
that's right.
Yep,
Yep,
we did have
you're right. It was actually in my head, I was
600,000.
attributing that to the prior year, but,
Yep.
so that's where we are. So, Lynn Savage, our town finance director, has come before us in case we have any questions about this appropriation. So at this time, does anybody have any questions for Lynn?
How much money's in that Amazon fund, or the community partnership agreement?
Well, it's a variety of different payments that they're going to make to the town based
Okay,
on the
no,
Amazon
we,
agreement,
Is
correct?
this all part of the TIF, kind of, in the?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it was an agreement that was signed before Amazon was brought on.
Yeah, okay.
Which benefited the town in various areas and
Great.
different departments.
Good
Just-
thinking.
Yeah. One thing I want to clarify is the 100,000 will stay in the general fund, and we'll purchase the FF&E out of the general fund, because by law, I can't take a general fund
Right.
reserve and transfer it to a capital account. So just to.
Thank
for
you.
Logistics of it all,
Yep.
and legally, it will stay in the general fund. I'll create a separate line item for just the FF&E.
Okay.
For the senior center if it gets approved.
Yep, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
What color is the furniture?
I don't know.
Do you get to order it?
See, this is the benefit of the finance committee. We get to talk about the color of the furniture in the senior center as well.
I'll find
We're in
out
the
for
weeds.
you.
Are you gonna go to Wayfair? What are we gonna do?
I don't know.
100,000 to buy furniture?
Yeah.
Okay, it is good news, though. I think that the senior center is moving along quicker than anticipated. I think
Yeah.
this is well anticipated by the town as a whole, so I think that this is great,
Okay.
good news. No other questions, comments?
I have one
Go.
question, and Lynn, I think we talked about this a little bit last year when I was writing up about the different reserves and how they're all treated and so forth, but is this 1.5 million, is it sort of, is it literally like its own bank account? Probably not, I'm guessing, or is it kind of, it's just an allocation of our, of our bank, whatever that is in the bank account, it's sort of an allocation from that, I guess what I'm wondering is like, is to address a cash flow issue, but it's the town's cash either way, right?
Right.
So,
It's an appropriation. So
Okay.
we can't overspend an appropriation if we don't have the funding.
okay,
So when we vote at town meeting, we vote to put 1.5 in a line item for the finance committee by Mass General Law, allows them to transfer those funds out by the board's vote
Right.
anytime during the fiscal year without having to go back to town meeting.
Okay.
Because it's within the operating budget.
okay,
So if I had $100,000, say, in general government, and the FF&E is in culture and recreation, I can't transfer from general government to culture recreation
Okay.
without town meeting approval.
Okay.
So that's why the finance committee reserve is a way for the town to have a small amount of money set aside to be used for emergency purposes.
so it's just a buffer that in some cases could be used because one line may be under and the other one may be
Correct.
over, but you can't transfer between them.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
Without
And I
town
can't-
meeting, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can't do it on my own. I have to come in front of the finance
Okay.
committee and get your
Right.
your approval.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
If I can add just a little bit to that, the history behind it, as I know Stan knows, is when the town moved into the GIC, there was a huge shift in finances. We were self-insured, and there was a trust with a fairly significant amount of cash for the ups and downs and flows of what it cost for the town to insure itself. When we moved to the GIC, we saved the town millions of dollars.
Close to 3.5.
Yeah, it was significant, it was huge, and that was
Each
when
year.
Mr. Mailer came on, he's like, why aren't we in the GIC? Thank you so much, and he just,
Right.
and he made it so. And so what happened was, put it basically, is like, there's the pot of cash that's there. And it's like, well, how do you handle that? And it was handled differently for a while, but I think when our new town manager came on, she said, it's not like anything has been inappropriate in handling those funds, but it's not as transparent as it could be. And it looks like the vehicle to make this pot of money fund the things that we need to do would be better in this reserve. And there was a nice vehicle
Correct.
for it, and the state allows for it, and so now it's very, very clear, and they don't have to worry about how do we juggle those dollars. But that's where the initial funding came from, and it is impressive how long that money has lasted. It built
It's been years.
it's been years, and
gonna
it built
continue,
a
right.
lot of buildings in our town. That's why we have a new fire department. That's why we have a new police department. There's many, many.
helped.
Yeah,
Yep.
so, anyway, that's what I get for.
Of course.
When do we anticipate Amazon will be issued their certificate of occupancy?
I would have to check on that. I'm not involved on that aspect of the project, so it would have to be an answer that would come from the town manager. It's basically on them. I mean, how quickly
Do we
they can
anticipate it'd be a
finish.
problem if it pushed into the next fiscal year?
I don't know that. I don't think so. I don't know if it's going to be pushed into the next fiscal year or not. We hope not. I'm sure they hope not.
But it's not
No.
an issue if we
No.
have taken the money out of reserves?
Nope,
Okay, and then pushes to next fiscal, those funds carry over
correct.
from, okay.
Yeah. So the 100,000 will come in next year and would end up putting it back to the reserve.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Go for it.
What do we have in free cash?
It hasn't been certified yet. We had 12 million last year, but
So you anticipate it'll be more than that?
I'm not sure. I'm still waiting.
And if someone wants, or department head or somebody, town manager wants an appropriation out of free cash, do they go before the select board? I mean, or do they have to
No,
wait for
it has
town
to go to
meeting?
town meeting.
Yep.
Yep,
Oh, wow.
that's the difference between a city and.
Yeah, city council, which is
Yes,
monthly.
versus a town.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything has to be voted at town meeting.
Okay.
I
Yep.
learned a lot from being on here.
Yeah, yeah,
Same
Town
with-
is different.
it's a little
from
bit
city.
slower. yeah.
Same with stabilization funds
It's much
and
more
things.
transparent is my, because it's, it's a bunch of people.
Everybody's, yeah.
Making the
Yep.
decisions,
Right.
but, but it's.
Takes a
it's
lot
little bit
longer.
longer, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's CPA funds as well, or are those
No, CPA funds are voted at town meeting
as
and then.
well?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. I create budgets and project numbers and stuff.
And do
It's
we add
tracked that way.
to this reserve, is it a recommendation of the finance committee to add to the reserve? And it becomes a budget line item, so the money comes from taxation?
For which we
Well,
reserve
the
this.
1.5 million finance committee reserve.
That's put in the town manager's recommendation for
Okay,
her
okay,
budget.
okay, right.
Yep.
But essentially, that's how
Yep,
it happens.
and it has been for the last few years at 1.5 million. Yep.
All right, everybody good?
Yes.
All right, could I have a motion,
Okay, yes.
please?
I make a motion that we transfer.
Thank you, Lynn.
Let's see, I want to say it properly.
Yep.
That we request a transfer from, or that we initiate a transfer from the reserve account to the senior center capital account in the amount of $100,000.
Great. We have a second?
Second.
Second from Keith, thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and Finance Committee approves the transfer.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, the last bit of business for tonight is sort of an open discussion. We do this at the start of every year, just to sort of throw out ideas or thoughts on any particular topics or issues or parts of the budget, thank you, Lynn, that we might want to discuss or look at as we proceed this year. So we won't be held to anything we say or not say tonight. This is, like I said, just sort of a brainstorming session. I know at least one member has one idea of something that she'd like to have us look into this year. So I guess at this time I would open it up. And this just, from this, we sort of can all talk it out, and this won't be the last meeting that we have this discussion at, but it just gives us the opportunity to all come up, with some ideas if there's things that, like I said, we want to dive deeper into or get further explanations on. This is an opportunity to bring it up, I think, so I would open up the floor to anybody and everybody.
I'll start. I mean,
Please.
it's my thing. The ARPA funding is the COVID money that the town has received. And do I know what the acronym is? No. I don't have it in front of me.
Oh.
But
I
I
just
pulled,
know it as opera funds still.
Yeah, it's
yeah, but this is,
American Recovery,
yes, there you go. Plan,
Plan.
Act.
Act,
Act,
yeah, I think
something
it's
like
what it is.
that.
Yep.
But this list, actually, I pulled right off our town website. So you can go right to the town website and look for this funding. And there's more explanation as to, to what this money is all about. But the reason that I'd like to kind of go into it is it's an awful lot of money. It's 9.1 million. I mean, this definitely affects the different funding opportunities in town. And what you see here is a list of expenditures or things that this money has already been allocated towards. And it's an interesting list. It's, let's call it eclectic. It seems like it's all across the board, which is actually great. But it is a little confusing as to how the decisions were made. And I don't actually disagree with anything here, but I know that there's a committee within Town Hall that has to think about this and do this and follow the rules that have been laid out by the federal government as to how this money is spent. So I'd like to know more about what it is that can be spent on. And the other thing is, I think that there are probably other organizations within our town that are unaware this is a funding source that they can use, like within the schools. I just had a neighbor who was talking about the athletic association, because they have to ask for money every year to fund things for the field and scoreboard and stuff like that. And like, is this money, could it be available to them? I have no idea of the rules. I couldn't answer her question. I really don't know. But it would be nice to have a process that we could make more transparent to the community as to maybe these are funds that are available to folks that are just simply unaware. Anyway, it's interesting, and I think it's right up our alley, so.
Is there a deadline on spending that money?
That's a very good question. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there is.
I think
and
so,
it's like
too.
2024.
I
Yeah.
thought there
Yeah.
was.
A deadline.
Good deadline.
A deadline. It's 25. Okay, thank you. So we want to make sure we don't leave any money on the table either.
Exactly. It's like, what can we do? I mean, is this, even if we just provide the information to other organizations to say, because I'm
That's
sure you
great.
have to apply for it, you have to ask, but you gotta know.
Yeah,
You gotta ask.
that's a good catch.
So, anyway,
So I think this is a great idea. So as I understand it, the committee, and don't hold me to this, but I believe it's town manager, the finance director, the deputy town manager, Andrew Shapiro, and Lori Burslaff, if I'm not mistaken.
that makes sense.
I think that Andrew Shapiro is the person who's sort of in charge of our ARPA funding. So I think what we can do is have Andrew and Lynn, we may not even need Lynn, but I'd appreciate having her here.
Yeah, me too.
to have Andrew Shapiro come in to our next meeting and walk us through this. How, the committee, how is it picked? I know there's an application process. How is that developed? What are the criteria? How do they pick the projects that they have? I would love to, I don't, none of this stuff jumps off the page at me as anything that's necessarily bad, but I'd love just to get a little bit of background as to, you know, what these projects are, why they were picked, how they made it through the process, and to Ken and Chris's point, if there's a plan to make sure we spend every dollar before the federal government takes it back. So I think that's a great idea. I'm all for it, and I think we could probably make that happen at our next meeting if everyone likes that idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think another question might be, and I think this is kind of what you're alluding to, Chris, is right now it's projects submitted by the department heads, but could any entity outside of the department heads
Right.
make a proposal, such as, I used to be on the North Andover Athletic Association, so I recognize your comment about that, but could they make a proposal for spending some of that money, for example? And that might be one of the questions you wanted.
Who knows? But I mean, there's plenty of organizations in town who do amazing things.
Right.
And they're always like hustling the same group of, usually parents. So that'd be pretty cool. If we could spread the wealth. But, yeah, great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anybody have anything else tonight? And please, you don't have to. I mean, like I said, anybody can bring it up at any time. I just thought this, you know, we usually do this at the first meeting. It's just in case there's any topics. I think this is a great one. Well done. That's why I voted for you to be vice chair.
Hey, you know, along those lines, maybe we want to close out the money that came for the gas disaster. I mean, the reason that just popped to mind is because my road is still being worked on. We're at the tail end, but oh Lord, it's taken such a long time. But is that done? I mean, is there still more funding?
Right. I think that's a great question.
I think
and
we're towards the end of it, but I honestly don't know.
I think we are close to the end of it as well, if not already there.
Because I think the roads were the last part, right?
Yeah, and I think that money is earmarked, but may not all be spent.
Right.
But I think it's all earmarked. But I think Andrew Shapiro is the right person to talk about that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So we'll give Andrew a busy
Yeah,
agenda
busy.
for next
But
meeting.
I think with that money, I don't think that there's a deadline. I think that money is
No.
ours to spend. But we do have rules about spending that
We
too?
do, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that's another great topic. You're on fire tonight, Chris.
Yes.
You want to switch spots? Okay. Anybody have anything else?
No, I don't.
General question.
Go, yeah.
I'm kind of comparing the way things get
Yeah,
done here in
please.
my mind.
Great.
To the way I've seen other, the cities do it. The budgeting process, who sets the goals? I mean, or are there goals for the budget? In terms of, from operational goals for the individual departments to, is there a budgetary goal for the schools? I mean, how far out do you look? I mean, I've seen people do 5-year plans, which to me is ridiculous. That's way too far out. And if you ever try to do a 5-year plan, the 1 year into the plan, the last 4 years are usually, just blown up, just because of the way life is. But to some degree, some planning and goal setting. I always found it was a great way to have the department heads tell me in conjunction with their spending requirements what they wanted to accomplish in the upcoming year. So that at least, things like that were in alignment. Because, it's a big deal in the private sector and I'm also, by the way, a serial entrepreneur and an engineer and, all that. I've done a lot of that stuff in the private sector. It doesn't happen a lot in the public sector. So I'm not saying and a lot of this is just repeat. It's every year it's the same requirements. They go up a certain amount. It's driven, 80% of our costs are probably here as well, driven like by personnel-related, whether it's salaries and benefits and such. That drives all of our spending.
Yep.
So it revolves around, a lot of it's collective bargaining, and that sets the ground, the baseline for the budgets.
But there is still room, you know, you have a little bit of room for discretionary spending and.
So I
where
would
you
say
wanna
that
invest.
the town manager in conjunction with the board of selectmen set the ultimate goals
Okay, that's
and
really-
policies, right?
okay.
So then the town manager will sort of funnel those down to the department heads and throughout the departments
Yep.
as they create the budget, the executive budget. And the school committee does the same thing with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent for finance, Jim Mealy,
Yep.
and Dr. Mealy, I should say, and they do the same thing on their side. And then they come into us, present it, walk us through it. We have the
Okay.
opportunity, the same with the executive budget or the administrative budget. We have an opportunity to ask questions, to poke at it, to prod at it,
Right.
challenge assumptions, that sort of thing.
I would just say, that, just to go deeper on one point you
Please.
made. The Board of Selectmen, one of their first meetings of the year is a budget policy statement. Budget policy planning meeting, and they talk about what are their priorities that they want to get done. And that really informs the whole process. Then the town manager takes that, what are the budget directive priorities, the
Okay, that's good.
policy
There are
priorities
goals, and- yeah, that's,
Yeah.
overall.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay.
And she takes that and, yeah, so you can like see that when you look in the budget from
Okay.
last year. It's the opening document, right, that says this is what we wanted to
Good.
try and do.
Good.
You'll see it if you read agendas, if you get on
Yeah.
the lists of always being sent agendas for
Yeah.
all the boards, those are the kinds of things you'll see as someone who reads agendas. The other thing is about the five-year plan, which is interesting, because we weren't the only ones, but we really pressed the school committee to come up with a five-year plan. Because even though you're not, I mean, it is 100% reasonable to say, like, after 1 year, things radically change. We just really wanted to see the process. And, because there were so many projects going on, can you parse this out for 5 years? So that was 2 years ago?
2 or 3.
That was pushed, and they did, to their credit, they did, it wasn't easy, but they did put forward a five-year plan. And it's just, even though you can't always stick to it, at least it gives you a blueprint to know, like, well, this is what we had intended at that time. What's changed, what's going on now?
Yeah, so that's-
And
that's
to
a good
plug and play and cheese. So those things do happen. It's actually, it's pretty
I
impressive.
actually like a five-year plan, but it needs to be
Yeah.
updated every year.
Yes.
It's updated every year.
Yeah,
That-
it is,
that's-
it
that's
is.
how you-
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is,
That's
and
the
they-
point, I didn't say
You
that. I
can't, you
should've,
can't
but-
function without it, and that,
Right.
the same thing is with our new town manager too,
Okay.
where she actually,
Not so new anymore.
no, she isn't, that's true, that's
Right.
how old I am, oh my God, I still call her the new town manager, that's, sorry, very sorry. Melissa, you're ancient. Is that she actually helped the superintendent do projections for school building. And that was a very long projection about how do we update all of our school buildings. And the first thing she said is like, this is gonna change, you know.
Was that like a 10-year plan?
It was even longer.
Oh, it's long, yeah.
It was long, it was like 15 years, like
yeah,
how
15.
can we get, this is how long it's going to take to get all these pieces in place. But if we get funding from this early and stick it here, then these will be shorter. And that was the kind of, it was a large puzzle that was put out, but it was actually really, really helpful to see, this is what things cost, and this is what it's gonna cost for everything to get done, and if you want something done sooner, well then, keep in mind, you're shoving some things to the side if you're going to do that. If you say, my school, not your school, which literally happens all the time.
Yes, that's typical.
Typical, sure, but these are the consequences of those things. And where does this money come from? And as this project, it comes to fruition, well then, look, we can use that money. But if this does not go through with our town meeting, we don't have that money. Those sorts of things, very useful, very helpful. So she's really pretty
So
terrific.
that's called Facilities Master Plan 2.
That's the,
Yeah.
those are the sort of the consequential things. I mean, I saw in the town meeting, the capital budget was like, there was $169 million, I remember that number, that was presented as a long-term, sort of capital plan. And the thing that struck me was Melissa said that it wasn't gonna cost taxpayers anything. So the conclusion I reached is that it had to all be through new growth. Although I think the new growth might have included Royal Crest, that, in that assumption, somebody's told me
No,
that.
no, it didn't.
Great, that's great to hear, it didn't.
It didn't.
But that's amazing.
Look,
That-
just to be
that's
clear, that
amazing.
project would have changed the plan.
Yes, yes, yes,
Right,
yes, yes,
accelerated things
yes.
to what Chris said, but that plan is not predicated on that project.
Right, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And I did a little research on sort of, the increases in levy versus the increases in property values, and,
Yep.
kind of came to the conclusion that that's where it's all, where it was all
And we
coming
had a
from,
lot of
which
debt
is
come off the books, which we're able to
amazingly
parlay.
healthy. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
The
Yeah.
finances in this community astound me. They're very, very good.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm used to, it's like paycheck to paycheck kind of thing. But we did well. I
You
mean,
did
we
it.
did okay.
Yeah, you
We
did
did
it.
all right. We improved a lot of things. But still, it's wonderful to see things well-planned, well-executed and such. So I'm pleased to be part of this now.
good.
Give Lynn a lot of credit for that.
Good,
Yeah, Lynn's
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah, well, it always is,
Eh.
it comes down, oh, she's not here, because it always comes down to that. That's a person I used to go, we had a CFO, so he'd be in my office every morning.
Yeah.
We'd be talking about
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, anybody?
I have
go-
one other thing.
Please?
I don't know when we will want to talk about this. I was thinking about it the other day, so just raise it since we're having open discussion. Which is the middle school fields project.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we appropriated money
We sure did.
for a portion of that project now several years ago.
we did.
I would love to, and I mean, I could just call one of the board of selectmen members or town manager, but I would love to know what's the latest with that lawsuit.
Yep.
Are we going to go out to bid for that project? If so, I mean, we're gonna have to talk about the additional funding that's needed, because obviously it's gonna be a lot more expensive now. than
You don't think the
Then
budget
it
from
would've-
4 years ago is the same?
4 years ago.
You don't think we'll
So, I don't think that has to be like urgent, but at some point, I
I
would
think
like
that's a great-
to talk about that.
Yeah, but it's a good, we need to know, like,
Yeah.
where it is.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
is it on the shelf, off the shelf?
I'm just saying, like, we don't have to put that and Dustin's topics all in one meeting.
No, no,
It's gonna be a long meeting.
I understand.
Can parse them out a little bit.
No, this is exactly
I
what
mean,
this
Andrew,
portion of the
I said
meeting
yes,
is for,
Yeah.
so. So that's good. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, can you go into a little more detail? You mentioned a lawsuit in a
Yeah.
field.
The neighbor.
So a number of years ago, the town approved a project for the space between the middle school and Atkinson, the kindergarten building, and the neighborhood there. The Community Preservation Committee appropriated a large portion.
The overall budget for the project was something like 8 million.
Yeah, I want to say
CPC
6 million from the
allocated
CPA,
six
from the
million, yeah.
Community Preservation Act. It was approved to town meeting, but some neighbors filed a lawsuit to stop the project. Two lawsuits, as I understand it. One that challenged whether the Community Preservation Committee could in fact fund the things that town meeting approved, and another,
The other one was for the special permit that the planning board granted,
right.
which they objected to.
So, I think it is been a number of years now, and as a neighbor to that field, I'm not aware of where this is. So I think it is an appropriate. So I think it is appropriate for them to come back and we can ask those questions.
So everything has been tabled until the lawsuit takes its course.
Yeah, unfortunately, the lawsuits are holding up the process.
I think
yeah.
they might be settled.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I
thought,
think
but-
that's
No,
a
not yet?
conversation for another
Oh,
time.
yeah, no, it's not for us to decide, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, anything else?
That's just rumor.
That's just rumor mill, yeah, that's right, you're right.
You don't want to review facilities master plan 2 funding, would you? It's just.
Stan, why don't you, I'm gonna, point of parliamentary procedure, I'm gonna open up the floor for a second public comment period, which,
Friendly public comment.
for the second
Thank
one
you,
of the
thank
night.
you.
Go ahead, Stan. There's two
Stan Lippert, 43 Stonecleave Road. I think it might be worthwhile for you all to just take a look at the, kind of the outlook and the funding for facilities master plan 2, because there's a lot of money tied up in this, and it's, a lot of very creative financing on the part of our town manager to avoid, increasing property, a lot of things that she did to make this worthwhile, but at some point down the road, she said we're going to be looking at a debt exclusion override. So, I mean, these are all just things you all might be helping us think about, as that project continues to unfold. Just, are there things that we should be aware of as a town a year or two from now, as that starts to happen, you know, and we start getting more into the weeds on that project. So that would be one thing. And the only thing I would say to the two new members is that, you know, our town and the way it's run has changed a lot in the last 10 or 15 years. You know, we're on our third town manager since about 2012. And the town manager at that time ran things a little more loosely than they're run now, certainly. And our previous town manager to the one we had now really cleaned things up a lot and got things kind of on track, and got a lot of procedures put in place. And so our current town manager is both the beneficiary of that and is using all of that, I think, all to our great benefit. And, you know, the result of that has been that we, you know, finally got our AAA bond rating, which was good. And that shows, I think, how well we've been doing financially. And so, yeah, but that's a big enough project, you know, I think it'd be worthwhile to just take a look at, kind of keep your eye on it.
One thing, I mean, with the changing interest rates, the assumptions regarding future costs, you know, for bonding, have changed dramatically recently.
Exactly, and, you know, there are quite a few assumptions built into that funding,
There are.
particularly in the out years. So it's, you know, just something to think about. And then, you know, I think this is the right group to do that, so.
Great, thank
Thanks,
you.
Sam.
Appreciate it. Anybody have anything else? We will, and we'll bring them back. We'll bring them back. So, all right, so hearing none, I think that is the last thing on our agenda, so I would entertain a motion, if anybody has one now, to adjourn. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chris. Great. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. We are therefore adjourned. Thank you.